What if I told you that in 2026, a single driving mistake in Texas could quietly cost you more than a month's rent, or even several paychecks, without you ever stepping into a courtroom? According to recent traffic enforcement data, thousands of Texas drivers are already paying hundreds to thousands of dollars each year in fines, fees, and insurance hikes from violations they didn't even realize were serious. What's more alarming is that many of the new driving laws coming in 2026 don't rely on police pulling you over. They rely on digital tracking, automated enforcement, and silent penalties that keep adding up long after the ticket is forgotten. Here's the unsettling part. Most drivers won't know they've broken the law until the bill arrives. A quick glance at your phone, driving a few miles over the limit, or missing a deadline by a single day can trigger cascading penalties, higher insurance premiums, administrative fees, and even license risks. Studies show that repeat penalties don't come from reckless drivers, but from ordinary people making everyday mistakes under changing rules they were never clearly warned about. By the end of this video, you'll understand why 2026 is a turning point for Texas drivers, how these laws are designed to extract more money faster, and, most importantly, what you can do right now to protect your license, your wallet, and your peace of mind. Stay with me because knowing this could save you thousands.
Number 1, digital traffic monitoring is quietly watching you everywhere. In 2026, one of the biggest reasons Texas drivers are paying more has nothing to do with reckless driving and everything to do with digital traffic monitoring. Across Texas, AI-powered cameras, license plate readers, and automated traffic systems are expanding rapidly. These systems don't get tired, don't give warnings, and don't use discretion. They simply record, flag, and fine. According to transportation research, automated enforcement systems catch significantly more violations than traditional traffic stops, especially for everyday behaviors drivers barely notice anymore. Here's what makes this alarming. You don't need to be pulled over to be penalized. Driving slightly over the speed limit, rolling a stop, or passing through certain monitored zones can trigger a violation that shows up weeks later as a notice in the mail. Many drivers assume these systems only target dangerous behavior, but studies show they are designed to catch high-volume, low-awareness mistakes. That means normal commuters, parents, and seniors are often the ones affected the most. The financial impact doesn't stop at the ticket. Once a digital violation is logged, it can automatically update driving records, alert insurance companies, and create a paper trail that follows you for years. Research from insurance analysts shows that even minor automated violations can result in long-term premium increases, quietly costing drivers thousands of dollars over time. And because these systems are automated, contesting them can be time-consuming, confusing, and costly. What can you do? First, know where monitored zones exist. Many cities publish them, but few drivers check. Second, treat every drive as if enforcement is always active, because in 2026 it often is. Most importantly, understand this truth. Digital enforcement doesn't care about intent, only data. And in Texas, that data is becoming one of the most expensive mistakes a driver can make.
Number 2, your insurance will punish you longer than the law ever will. For most Texas drivers, the real financial damage in 2026 doesn't come from the ticket itself. It comes later, quietly, through insurance penalties that last for years. A single traffic violation might cost a few $100s up front, but insurance industry studies show that the same violation can raise your premiums for 3 to 5 years, sometimes longer. That means one mistake on the road can slowly drain your finances month after month, long after you think the problem is over. What's changed is how fast insurance companies now receive your data. With digital reporting systems, violations are transmitted almost instantly. There's no long delay, no buffer period, and no assumption of forgiveness. Instead, your profile is automatically recalculated using risk-based algorithms. These systems don't look at context, whether you were tired, distracted for a second, or driving on an empty road. They simply see a data point that marks you as higher risk, even if you've been a safe driver for decades. Research from actuarial studies shows that drivers with even minor violations are statistically more likely to face compound increases. One ticket can lead to higher base premiums, lost discounts, and reduced eligibility for preferred insurance tiers. For families, seniors, and gig drivers, this can translate into thousands of dollars in added costs over time, money that never shows up on the original citation. The most frustrating part is that many drivers don't connect the dots. They pay the fine, move on, and only notice the damage when their renewal notice arrives months later. By then, it's often too late to reverse the impact. To protect yourself, you must treat every violation as an insurance event, not just a legal one. Monitor your driving record regularly, respond quickly to citations, and understand which offenses triggered the largest premium increases. In 2026 Texas, the ticket ends, but the insurance penalty keeps charging you long after.
Number 3. Texas drivers are now digitally scored without their knowledge. One of the least talked about changes affecting Texas drivers in 2026 is the rise of digital driver scoring systems. This isn't just about points on your license anymore. Behind the scenes, your driving behavior is being analyzed, categorized, and scored using data from traffic violations, insurance records, and automated enforcement systems. Research into modern risk assessment shows that these digital profiles can influence everything from insurance rates to how quickly penalties escalate after future violations. What makes this especially troubling is that most drivers never see their score. There is no warning letter, no clear explanation, and no easy way to challenge how you're being classified. A few minor incidents, like automated tickets, late payments, or repeat low-level violations, can quietly push a driver into a higher risk category. Once that happens, future mistakes are treated more harshly, with larger fines, faster suspensions, and fewer second chances. Studies in transportation safety show that algorithm-based scoring systems don't evaluate intent or driving history in a human way. They focus on patterns, not people. That means long-time safe drivers can be penalized just as severely as reckless ones if the data shows repeated risk signals. For seniors and daily commuters, this can feel especially unfair because everyday driving naturally increases exposure to enforcement systems. The financial consequences can be severe. Drivers flagged as higher risk often face restricted insurance options, higher deductibles, and fewer opportunities to reduce penalties through education programs. Over time, this creates a cycle where each new violation becomes more expensive than the last, even if the behavior hasn't changed. To protect yourself, awareness is critical. Treat every citation, notice, or administrative fee as part of a larger digital record. Keep copies of all documents, check your driving history regularly, and address issues immediately. In 2026 Texas, it's no longer just about how you drive, it's about how the system scores you, and that score can quietly decide how much driving will cost you.
Number 4. Distraction laws now punish seconds, not just behavior. In 2026, Texas distraction laws are no longer focused only on obvious actions like texting and driving. The definition of distraction has expanded quietly, and that's where many drivers are getting caught. Research on driver attention shows that even a 2-second glance away from the road can significantly increase accident risk. Lawmakers have used these findings to justify broader enforcement, meaning actions that once felt harmless are now legally risky. What many drivers don't realize is that physical phone use isn't always required. Touching your screen to adjust navigation, checking a notification at a red light, or even holding a phone while stopped can now qualify as a violation under certain conditions. With digital monitoring and officer discretion combined, enforcement has become far less forgiving. A behavior that feels normal, something millions of drivers do daily, can suddenly result in a citation with serious financial consequences. Studies from traffic safety agencies show that expanded distraction laws disproportionately affect older drivers and commuters, not because they're reckless, but because they rely on navigation tools, hands-free systems, and real-time alerts more frequently. The problem is that the law often doesn't distinguish clearly between safe assistance and illegal interaction. That gray area leaves drivers exposed to fines, points, and insurance penalties that stack quickly. The cost doesn't stop at the ticket. Distraction violations are viewed by insurers as high-risk indicators, similar to speeding or aggressive driving. One citation can trigger premium increases, loss of safe driver discounts, and stricter renewal terms. Over time, a few seconds of distraction can quietly cost thousands of dollars. The safest approach in 2026 Texas is simple but strict. Hands off, eyes up, and interactions minimal. Set navigation before driving, use voice commands only when necessary, and resist the urge to check anything, even briefly. In today's driving environment, seconds matter, and those seconds can be the difference between staying protected and paying a heavy price.
Number 5. Repeat mistakes now trigger automatic fine escalation. One of the most expensive changes Texas drivers face in 2026 is how repeat violations are handled. In the past, making the same mistake twice might result in a warning or a slightly higher fine. Today, that human flexibility is disappearing. Texas enforcement systems increasingly rely on automated escalation rules, meaning penalties rise automatically based on data patterns, not judgment. If the system detects repeat behavior, even minor, it responds with higher fines, faster penalties, and fewer chances to recover. Research into traffic enforcement shows that automated escalation leads to compound punishment, not correction. A driver who unknowingly repeats a small violation, such as rolling stops or minor speeding, can quickly move from manageable fines to four-figure penalties. The system doesn't care if the violations occurred in different cities or under different circumstances. It only sees repetition, and repetition now equals higher financial risk. What makes this especially dangerous is that many drivers don't realize they're repeating a violation. Digital tickets often arrive weeks after the incident. By the time you receive the first notice, you may have already triggered the second or third offense. Once that happens, penalties can include mandatory fees, extended points, and increased insurance reporting, all happening automatically behind the scenes. Studies show that drivers caught in escalation systems are more likely to experience license restrictions and financial stress, not because they're unsafe, but because they're unaware of how quickly the system reacts. Seniors, daily commuters, and rideshare drivers are especially vulnerable due to frequent road exposure. The solution is awareness and interruption. Treat every violation as urgent, no matter how small it seems. Adjust driving habits immediately after receiving a notice. Track your citations carefully and respond quickly to all official mail. In 2026 Texas, the second mistake is no longer a reminder, it's a multiplier. And once escalation begins, the costs rise faster than most drivers expect. Before you go, drop a comment and tell us which new Texas driving rule shocked you the most. Your answer could warn another driver before it's too late. We put hours of research and real effort into breaking these laws down clearly for you. So if this helped, subscribe to our channel. It's just one click, and it helps us keep making videos that protect your money and your freedom.
Number 6. Speed enforcement is now precise enough to catch almost legal driving. In 2026, many Texas drivers are discovering that close enough is no longer safe when it comes to speed. Advances in speed detection technology have made enforcement far more precise than in previous years. Radar, LiDAR, and automated monitoring systems are now capable of measuring speed with near-perfect accuracy, even in heavy traffic. Research in traffic engineering shows that as detection accuracy improves, enforcement tolerance drops, and that's exactly what's happening on Texas roads. For decades, drivers relied on an unspoken buffer, assuming a few miles over the limit wouldn't matter. That assumption is quickly becoming expensive. Studies indicate that modern enforcement systems are designed to flag small but consistent speeding patterns, not just extreme cases. A driver who regularly exceeds the limit by just 2 or 3 miles per hour may never feel reckless, yet still accumulate multiple violations over time. What makes this change financially dangerous is how these minor infractions add up. Each citation may seem manageable on its own, but combined with automatic escalation rules and insurance reporting, the total cost can climb rapidly. Research from insurance analysts shows that repeated low-level speeding is treated as a behavior pattern, increasing risk scores and premium adjustments more aggressively than a single high-speed incident. Many drivers also don't realize that speed enforcement zones are expanding in construction areas, school zones, and high-risk corridors. These areas often carry higher fines and stricter thresholds, meaning the same speed that's legal on one road can be costly just a few blocks away. The result is confusion and expensive mistakes. The smartest defense is consistency and awareness. Use cruise control when possible, adjust speed early when entering special zones, and stop relying on old habits or assumptions. In 2026 Texas, precision enforcement means there's no margin for almost legal driving, and even small speed errors can quietly become a major financial burden. Number 7. Commercial and rideshare drivers face faster, harsher penalties. In 2026, Texas drivers who earn money behind the wheel are operating under a completely different level of scrutiny. Commercial drivers, delivery workers, and rideshare operators are now subject to accelerated enforcement and stricter penalty thresholds. Research into transportation safety shows that regulators treat professional driving as a higher risk activity, not because drivers are unsafe, but because they spend more hours on the road, increasing exposure to enforcement systems. What many drivers don't realize is that violations stack faster for income-based driving. A minor infraction that might result in a warning or modest fine for a private driver can trigger immediate reporting to employers, platforms, or licensing databases for commercial drivers. Automated systems now flag these violations almost instantly, and once flagged, the consequences move quickly: higher fines, temporary suspensions, or loss of driving eligibility. Studies from labor and insurance researchers show that even a single violation can affect employment access. Rideshare platforms and delivery services increasingly use driving records to determine driver eligibility. A small mistake, like a distraction citation or minor speeding, can quietly push a driver out of preferred tiers or deactivate them entirely. The financial damage goes far beyond fines, often resulting in lost income and unstable work opportunities. Another hidden risk is insurance. Commercial and rideshare drivers typically carry specialized coverage, which is far more sensitive to violations. Research shows that premium increases in this category can be dramatic and immediate, sometimes doubling after just one incident. For drivers relying on this income, that increase alone can make working unsustainable. The key to protection is treating driving as a regulated profession, not just transportation. Track your driving record closely, respond to violations immediately, and adjust habits aggressively after any incident. In 2026 Texas, earning money on the road means one mistake doesn't just cost you a fine, it can cost you your livelihood. Number 8. Late fees and paperwork mistakes can cost more than the ticket. In 2026, one of the most overlooked ways Texas drivers lose money isn't through the violation itself, but through late fees, missed deadlines, and simple paperwork errors. Many drivers assume that once a ticket is issued, the cost is fixed. In reality, research into traffic administration shows that administrative penalties now grow faster than the original fine, often doubling or tripling the total amount owed. What makes this especially dangerous is how quiet and fast these penalties appear. Digital notices, mailed warnings, and online portals have replaced in-person reminders. If a driver misses a deadline by even one day, automated systems can instantly add late charges, processing fees, and compliance penalties. Studies show that drivers who delay action are far more likely to face escalating costs, not because of bad driving, but because of missed communication. Many drivers also don't realize that failure to respond is treated more harshly than the violation itself. Ignoring a ticket or misunderstanding instructions can trigger license holds, registration blocks, or court referrals. Once that happens, fees stack rapidly, and resolving the issue becomes far more complex and expensive. Seniors and busy workers are particularly vulnerable, as they often rely on mail notices that arrive late or get overlooked. Research from legal aid organizations shows that administrative penalties disproportionately affect ordinary drivers, not chronic offenders. A manageable $200 citation can quietly turn into $800 or more simply due to delays, misfiled forms, or confusion about payment options. At that point, the system becomes a financial trap that's difficult to escape. The solution is proactive organization. Open every notice immediately, verify deadlines, and keep digital and physical copies of all correspondence. Set reminders, confirm payments, and follow up to ensure records are updated. In 2026 Texas, the most expensive driving mistake may not be on the road, it may be in your mailbox. Number 9. Defensive driving courses no longer erase the damage. For years, many Texas drivers believed that defensive driving courses were a safety net, a simple way to erase tickets, protect insurance rates, and move on without long-term consequences. In 2026, that assumption is becoming costly. Changes in how violations are processed mean that driving courses no longer cancel out the financial impact the way they once did. Research into traffic compliance systems shows that while courses may still reduce points, they often do not stop insurance reporting or digital risk scoring. What's changed is the separation between legal forgiveness and financial records. Completing a course might satisfy court requirements, but insurance companies and automated scoring systems can still record the original violation. Studies from insurance analysts reveal that many insurers now factor in incident history, not just official points. That means drivers may still face higher premiums or lost discounts, even after doing everything the court asked. This creates a false sense of security. Drivers take the course, pay the fee, and assume the issue is resolved, only to discover months later that their insurance costs have increased anyway. Seniors and longtime safe drivers are especially affected because they rely on outdated rules that no longer fully apply. Research shows that repeat reliance on courses can also trigger eligibility limits, preventing drivers from using them again when they truly need them. There's also the time and money factor. Defensive driving programs now involve higher fees, longer completion times, and stricter conditions. When the financial protection is reduced, the return on that investment becomes questionable. In some cases, the course cost combined with insurance increases ends up exceeding the original fine. The key takeaway is adjustment, not abandonment. Courses still have value, but only when used strategically. Understand which violations qualify, how insurers treat them, and when alternative actions may be more effective. In 2026 Texas, education alone doesn't erase digital records, and relying on old solutions can quietly lead to new financial losses. Number 10. License suspensions now happen faster, often without a clear warning. In 2026, one of the most serious consequences Texas drivers face is how quickly license suspensions can now occur. What once took months of notices and multiple warnings can now happen after a short sequence of unresolved issues. Research into traffic administration shows that automated systems have significantly reduced the time between violations, penalties, and enforcement actions. For many drivers, suspension is no longer the final step. It's a rapid response. What makes this especially dangerous is that suspension isn't always triggered by reckless driving. Unpaid fines, missed paperwork, late fees, or accumulated administrative penalties can all lead to license restrictions. Studies show that drivers often lose their driving privileges not because of one major offense, but due to several small issues stacking together. By the time they realize what's happening, the suspension process is already underway. The financial consequences extend far beyond driving. A suspended license can impact employment, medical access, caregiving responsibilities, and daily survival. Research from labor studies shows that drivers with suspended licenses face higher job loss rates and increased financial instability. For seniors, families, and rural residents, the impact can be devastating, turning a paperwork problem into a life disruption. Another hidden danger is how restoration costs add up. Reinstatement fees, compliance requirements, and insurance surcharges can total hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And during suspension, any driving, even for emergencies, can result in severe legal consequences, escalating the situation further. The most effective protection is early action. Address every notice immediately, resolve fines quickly, and track your license status regularly. In 2026 Texas, losing your license doesn't start with a dramatic mistake. It starts with ignoring small problems, and once the system moves, it moves fast.
As we've seen, driving in Texas in 2026 is no longer just about following the rules of the road. It's about navigating a system that has become digital, automated, and financially unforgiving. What used to be a simple traffic ticket can now quietly turn into thousands of dollars in fines, insurance increases, administrative fees, and long-term penalties. And the most troubling part is that many of these costs don't come from reckless behavior, but from ordinary, everyday driving habits that no longer fit the new enforcement landscape. Each of the 10 reasons we discussed reveals the same underlying reality. The system moves faster than most drivers realize. Digital monitoring doesn't wait. Insurance algorithms don't forget. Administrative penalties don't pause out of sympathy. Whether it's a brief distraction, a small speed miscalculation, or a missed deadline, small mistakes now compound quickly. For seniors, working families, and anyone who relies on their vehicle daily, these changes create real financial risk, and often without clear warnings. But awareness is power. Understanding how these laws work allows you to break the cycle before it starts. Adjusting habits, responding quickly to notices, tracking your driving record, and treating every citation seriously can make the difference between staying protected and falling into a costly spiral. These laws may be complex, but ignoring them is far more expensive. The goal of this video isn't fear, it's preparation. When you know what's coming, you can drive smarter, plan better, and protect what matters most. In 2026, your license is more than permission to drive. It's a financial lifeline. Guard it carefully, because on Texas roads today, knowledge isn't just power, it's savings.